Rademacher, their best performance, a 7th in start in Switzerland this year. And for the more experienced team of Scheuerpflug and Dieckmann, their best performance, a 4th in Marseille back in 2003. Time then to meet the officials first of all before the players are introduced to you on court. So Le Jing Wang, one of the new referees on the circuit from China, and he will be able assisted by Bert van der Poel of the Netherlands. So out comes Nicolas Rademacher, 22 years old, 2 meters and 7 tall. That's not a misprint. He's the 2nd tallest ever player to play beach volleyball on the Swatch FIVB World Tour, and joined by David Klemperer, 24 years old, 1 meter 87. 37 years old now, Andreas Andy Scheuerpflug, joined by his partner, 28-year-old Christoph Dieckmann. So Dieckmann and Scheuerpflug in the red tops, Klemperer and Rademacher to start the match in blue. It's the 2nd semi-final from the ConocoPhillips Norwegian Open in Stavanger on the Swatch FIVB World Tour. Here on Eurosport, Brazilians Emanuel and Ricardo await the winners of this match. Already the best performances by far for these two teams, and it will be a first final ever for one of these two. The higher ranked team of Scheuerpflug and Dieckmann in the red shirts. And they could start by 37-year-old Andy Scheuerpflug, just getting the ball down onto the sand. They're currently world ranked 12 against the world ranking of 29 for their opposition. And already the first serve going to David Klemperer. Klemperer makes a good finish, and he's quite an expressive character. It's a nice feel to these two teams on court. And his partner, Nicolas Rademacher, 2 meters and 7 tall, the tallest player currently on the World Tour, just 1 centimeter shorter than the mighty Sergei Ermashin of Russia. And that's the value of Rademacher nearly getting the block on Scheuerpflug. And Scheuerpflug, very intelligent man, maths and sports teacher from Potsdam in Germany, speaks 5 languages: Turkish, French, English, and of course German. Good serve from Dieckmann, makes his way into the net, nearly gets the throwdown block. Christoph Dieckmann, brother of Marcus Dieckmann, was dumped by his brother back in 2000 after they enjoyed 5 seasons together on the Swatch FIVB World Tour. Never really that successful as a partnership. He took a year out and then was asked to come back into the sport by Scheuerpflug, and I bet he's glad he did. Now, just looking down the Olympic rankings at the moment, Klemperer and Rademacher in 17th place, Dieckmann and Scheuerpflug in 10th, and there's a considerable distance between them in points, so I don't think it's realistic for Klemperer and Rademacher to be looking at a place in Athens. It is certainly realistic for them to be thinking about Beijing. So Scheuerpflug to serve, he and Dieckmann the favourites for this game. Good finish, and there's the problem that I think Klemperer and Rademacher will have, and Klemperer is happy to talk about the fact that he's only 1 meter 87 tall, which in volleyball terms is really not big enough. He is under a lot of pressure on side out all the time. He makes a great fist of it, let me tell you. And to get to this particular point in the tournament, he and Rademacher have beaten Tangier and Franco earlier on, and we saw Tangier and Franco play through the losers bracket to make the semi-final and lose eventually. And they've also beaten Barasetti and Conde, so it's been a wonderful event for the team in blue here in Stavanger. And for Scheuerpflug and Dieckmann, well, they put Barasetti and Conde out of the tournament, handing the Argentinians their 2nd loss in Norway. And they also went on then to beat Holdren and Metzger to advance through to this semi-final position. So Germany guaranteed a team in the final. And that is a reward for the amount of investment and time that they've put into their beach volleyball programme. Well, terrific rally. Scheuerpflug in the end with the finish. Klemperer struggling just a little to put the ball down. And the problem that Rademacher has is he may have the height, but he's young, he hasn't quite fully developed his stature yet and his musculature. And he's a wiry character, and while he does provide an excellent block, sometimes the power not quite there on the shots. Klemperer gets another serve. Well, any of you that remember the AVP tour back in the mid-90s will have come across a player called Brian Louis Lewis. And that's who Klemperer reminds me of. Just watch the way Klemperer hits and you can have plenty of chance in this match because he's going to get served almost exclusively. But he gets up there, he hangs as long as he can, and he really puts some heat on the ball. But because he's always struggling with the net height, it goes deep, and it's quite easy to fix a defensive position against him. That's what Andy Scheuerpflug will be doing, the experienced German defender. Good finish, well played Klemperer. Got the line call from Rademacher, but had the vision to look through the net and realise the line was covered by Scheuerpflug. Cut it back in front of Dieckmann. Just a reminder, it's Christoph Dieckmann and not Marcus Dieckmann. Marcus Dieckmann, his brother. After winning with Jonas Reckermann in Berlin, they've taken a week or two out just to recover. And the referee calls double touch on Scheuerpflug. Rademacher and Klemperer applauding that decision. And no real argument. Well, it's called a double touch. It looked more of a carry to me than anything. But the triumph short-lived. Dieckmann with a good solid side out down the line. I'll be interested to see who the players serve. I would honestly look at Scheuerpflug early on in this match to see what his fitness is like. Because for a 37-year-old to have played as many games as this German team has played to get to this stage is a massive demand on the body. Rademacher misses, tries to go second hit. It was the wrong decision at that stage. Just got to trust the small man a little bit longer. And having talked about the stats for the tallest players and then the oldest players, we've also had a couple of Jamaican guys who came on the tour a few years ago, one of whom was just 1.62 meters. So Klemperer by no means the smallest player to compete on the men's tour. But in the land of the giants, as it's sometimes referred to nowadays, he's still unusual in that fact. It's been a steady start for the older team. Dumped out Heyer and Egger of Switzerland in the quarterfinals to compound Heyer and Egger's unfortunate season. And a timeout called by Klemperer and Rademacher to stop the scoring. 10-5, Dieckmann and Scheuerpflug lead. Well, it's an interesting set of matching tape there for the youngsters. And Nicholas Rademacher has been suffering with a fairly serious shoulder injury throughout the whole of this year, but I noticed for the first time almost that he's out for this semi-final with no tape on at all, but the pink tape has been reserved for the knees of both players. Heavy strapping around the front of the knee, suggesting some sort of tracking problem maybe on the patella, just hoping to adjust the patella into a place where it's going to relieve pressure on the tendon, the patella tendon that runs underneath. Not a qualified physio, I must hasten to add, but that's an approximate guess. If anyone's got a better idea of what they think that tape is doing, then please get in touch. Volleycoms, all one word, volleycoms, 2 L's, 2 M's, at hotmail.com. I'll be happy to receive any of your emails. Good finish, a change up from Klemperer there, just going with the rainbow pokey. Lobbing this over the top of Scheuerpflug's defence. That's a very tough shot to complete. But it left Scheuerpflug flat-footed. Now, this is the best combination for Klemperer and Rademacher. Rademacher at the net, waiting to block. And I'd like to see Klemperer hitting tougher serves than that. Scheuerpflug made the pass easily. Made the big finish down the line as well. Look simple. We wonder what sort of resistance both these teams can offer to the number one seeds in the final. Good shot. So Rademacher this time making the second ball play. The ball was much tighter to the net. Still a difficult hit for him, coming across his body. But he makes it in style. You can see that facial resemblance on that last shot of Chris Dieckmann. Rademacher with a long, exaggerated shout after that. Hasn't got hold of his block timing yet. This is easy for Dieckmann and Scheuerpflug so far. Scheuerpflug making a little harder work of that side out, but does it pretty well. Well, it wasn't a side out, it was a side in play off his own serving. This is the problem for Klemperer and Rademacher. If they keep pushing with this second ball option to take the pressure off of Klemperer, it's not going to be that easy. This time Rademacher gets a serve and Rademacher just bangs it out. Messy stuff from the youngsters. They've got a lot to learn from this. They've never been to a semi-final before. And as we go to our first technical timeout in the match, at 21 points, they've got a lot of thinking to do. The old boys, 37-year-old Andy Scheuerpflug with the hat turned backwards, Christoph Dieckmann in the number 2 vest. Completely happy about it. Typical Stavanger atmosphere, lots of families in. Wonderful crowd enjoying the action. And I'm delighted for their sake that the sun is out. Well, these two girls have been dancing their way through the whole tournament. Look like they want to be out with the local jazz club doing the dancing on the stage. Maybe they didn't get selected this year round. I'd have selected them, definitely. They look good. There's a kind of a disjointed samba rhythm going on. Lots of slapping hands, these little plastic slapping hands that the crowd have got, the big bang sticks that they smack together, and a few sets of drums around. So the Norwegians trying to make the Brazilians feel at home in the first semi-final. I think the Brazilians will be definite favourites regardless of which team gets through, and at the moment it looks as if Scheuerpflug and Dieckmann are going to make easy work of this second semi-final. And it really has been a wonderful 2 seasons for German volleyball. A couple of years ago they decided to put money into the beach volleyball programme, and on a regular basis now there have been something like 8 to 10 men's teams in the draw at the start of the tournament. Not all have been qualifying through, but they've been getting 4 through, 3 or 4 teams through on a fairly regular basis into the main draw. And with more teams in there, you've got more chance of a team hitting form. They've acted quickly on the success of Jonas Reckermann and Marcus Dieckmann in the last couple of seasons, and they've really developed a fantastic training programme. Well, Andy Scheuerpflug has come out flying And I suggested that they serve him early on just to move the 37-year-old around and see how his body is holding up on the 4th day of competition. And it's holding up very nicely, thank you. So what do I know? Rademacher again makes the decision early to go for that shot, and Klemperer's ball control has been good. Good high contact point, nice straight arm, and no signs there of a shoulder problem. Although if he has to keep hitting those unusual angles, it's going to become a little sore, I'm sure. It's great control. Well, at the moment there is no response at all from Klemperer and Rademacher. Klemperer, who lists his other hobby as basketball, so he's a sucker for punishment. Very nice. That was so reminiscent of Brian Lewis. Must have seen Louis play and modelled himself on the guy. Just a devastating hitter. And another man that was under 6 feet tall. Good serve, that's better pressure. But Dieckmann having no problems whatsoever. He's been excluded from the serve for a little while, but that was a lovely put away from Dieckmann. 1.98 m tall, as opposed to Scheuerpflug's 1.96 m, but Scheuerpflug the all-out defender in this combination. Finally it's shirts off time in Stavanger. They've had a rotten week of weather. 18-12, Dieckmann and Scheuerpflug lead in this first set. Just down. Quick apology from David Klemperer as he acknowledges that net touch took the ball into court, and just trying to get themselves going if they can in this first set. This is not about the first set now, this is all about how they start the second. And the one thing that does go in their favour is if they can take it into a third, the younger guys should be fitter the longer this match goes on. But to do that, they're going to have to cut out the errors. Scheuerpflug with a fairly casual hit out the back of court. So another chance for Klemperer and Rademacher to try and just bump start this performance, because they've been a bit like rabbits trapped in the headlights so far. Their first semi-final experience, not a good one. Well, Rademacher is making no impression at all with the block against Andy Scheuerpflug.
Så det satt ball til Tyskland, Scheuerpflug og Dieckmann.
This is it for the set. Very comfortable, very casual, and a confident performance. Scheuerpflug and Dieckmann march on into a 1-0 lead in this second semi-final. We'll be back with live coverage of the second set. Don't go away.
They have waited for centuries to find themselves where it all began. before Olympic Games. Nothing stays the same when a legend comes alive.
With Swatch.
Welcome back. Second set is underway. It was a good start for the team in blue, David Klemperer and Niklas Rademacher, but soon levelled up by Scheuerpflug and Dieckmann, who took the first set in very commanding fashion. 21 points to 12 is a pasting.
And
Rademacher and Klemperer have been living on the edge. Rademacher, the big man in your picture, at 2.07 meters, having to take a lot of second ball hits to try and relieve the side-out pressure on his much smaller partner, 20 centimetres shorter, David Klemperer, and it is Klemperer with serve. They lead 2-1 in the second set. And Andy Scheuerpflug continues to stay in the zone on side out. This has been the best side out performance from him that I've seen. Very steady player. Well, the side outs are coming for Klemperer and Rademacher, but that's not really the problem. The problem for me has been that they've made no impression whatsoever with their blocking, their serving or their defence. Can they do it now? Well, Scheuerpflug is just playing the game of his life here. He looks casual, he looks relaxed, he's just so not like a German beach volleyball player in terms of the physical approach that he has to the game. Germans so technically precise with what they do. Scheuerpflug very casual, very relaxed, almost a Brazilian feel to the way he does things. And you can definitely see that a lot of these players are coming through a coaching system within Germany. And I don't think it's long before Germany can produce a gold medal or a world championship team over the next 5 or 6 years. Good, Rademacher finally gets a block, and don't they know it? And the crowd with sporting applause there, and it's a Kong block. Wonderful jump. The first bit of poor ball control we've seen from Dieckmann and Scheuerpflug. And Klemperer and Rademacher have their noses in front. Is this the bit of confidence they need to just get themselves to play in this match? Oh, he's such a good defender. He really is such a good defender, David Klemperer. And it's just the hitting side of his game that's the problem. He has to have such a precise set to put it away, or he has to go with a really accurate shot. And it's the latter of the two options he takes here. Sees Scheuerpflug camped across court and hits a late, deep line. And that, with any luck for Klemperer and Rademacher, has shaken them out of that poor first set performance. Scheuerpflug is hitting like a demon. And what is Rademacher doing? Scheuerpflug's not contacting the ball particularly high, and I think that Rademacher's got to think in terms of penetrating the net a bit more, taking a couple of chances and trying to grab hold of that ball as Scheuerpflug hits. The errors continue to come. It's been a very different tournament, this tournament in Stavanger, here on the Swatch FIVB World Tour. A number of top teams missing through injury or deciding to rest. And it's been lovely to see some new names around. Four guys that rarely get a look in on camera, on court at the moment. And in the women's event, Dumont and Martin from Canada giving a fantastic account of themselves, taking 4th place in the end. And for the 3rd week in a row, for the 3rd tournament in a row, Start, Berlin and Stavanger, Germany will have a men's team in the final. There is most definitely a new world order in 2004. Dieckmann and Reckermann, not here at this event, must go to Athens as one of the gold medal favourites. 2 line blocks signalled for Christoph Dieckmann. He'll make his way into the net to block. And that's bounced right off his head by David Klemperer. Good aggressive hitting, and immediately Klemperer apologises to Dieckmann. These two teams know each other so well. Certainly Klemperer and Rademacher would have had coaching help from Dieckmann and Scheuerpflug over the years. And it's a fair amount of damage that's been done there. The sunglass is essential in beach volleyball if you're going to play in the sun, but they've been smashed to bits by David Klemperer. It's just as well that the players all get them free. Dieckmann straight over to his bag. Well, in fact, he's gone over to ask Andy Scheuerpflug if he can borrow his spare pair. That's what I'd do as well. I don't want another pair of glasses broken. Let's go and borrow my mate's glasses. It's a Viking town here in Stavanger. Not a really Viking-y thing to do, I suppose. Head, shoulders, knees and toes. But everybody enjoying themselves as usual on the Swatch FIVB World Tour. Klemperer and Rademacher trying to preserve this 8-6 2-point cushion. But Scheuerpflug is back into her rhythm. Just lost it temporarily with a couple of dodgy sets from Dieckmann. Not particularly good ball control. Scheuerpflug makes the error, and that's what you're always waiting for when you're down in a match. You're always waiting for one of the key players to start to just drift away from the top of their game, and that could be the danger. Scheuerpflug has been served almost exclusively, and an ace from Rademacher. Rademacher from Bocholt in Germany, the 22-year-old. 2 meters and 7 tall. It's not until you stood next to them in one of the hotel lobbies or around about the tournament sites that you realise just how enormous some of these guys are. But the beauty is they're big, they are mobile. Not mobile enough on that occasion. Dieckmann with a good line shot. Christoph Dieckmann, I knew I'd say Marcus at some stage, but Christoph Dieckmann, a student of history and politics at Cologne. I'm glad to see him back on the tour and playing so well. Scheuerpflug just can't be disturbed at the moment from his rhythm. He's clearly the go-to player because he doesn't have quite the height and the jump and the power of Dieckmann. But the problem for Klemperer and Rademacher is that he does have the ball control, and he's using that to great effect. And an ace serve from Dieckmann, the minimum of effort on that swing. That was all about timing and direction. Well, I'm fascinated to see how either of these teams go against Ricardo and Emmanuel. Good finish from Klemperer, and he skips back to the timeout zone. Technical timeout for both teams. And the team in blue have their noses in front, 11 points to 10 in this second set. Let's hope they can go past their score of 12.
Og vi skal også dele ut noen magetasker, så det var vel for ned opp I været og hope ut, så jeg kan ikke heldig å få ned den. Det sponset av
Scheuerpflug and Dieckmann in their timeout area, just taking on some fluid. Not really been a massive demand for that because the heat's not been here in Stavanger. Very hot in previous years. The temperature just picking up in time for the last afternoon of volleyball. Bronze medal and final matches to come after this semi-final. We'll be bringing you more coverage from this event on Monday. This is the last visit we'll be making to Stavanger today. But the men's final highlights action coming up with me, Simon Golding, on Monday on Eurosport. So Klemperer and Rademacher need to keep this roll going. Dieckmann once again with a confident side out, and he's had very little trouble in this match so far in any department. He'll Scheuerpflug serve. I'm sure Klemperer must be the favourite, and it is Klemperer. Long way off the net here, but that's a great put down. Wonderful put down, and Dieckmann angry with himself because he didn't break far enough into court from the net. Only broke to about halfway, about 4 metres from the net. And you've got to give Klemperer more respect than that. Rademacher's just having a shocker today. Can't get his block going, can't get his serve going, and he's made a few hitting errors as well now. The young man is just not on his game. So disappointing for the crowd here and for him. This time blown out the back of court. So we've just hit a little down phase in this match. Both sets of players not sure where they're going to find their next point from. I notice Christoph Dieckmann has chosen not to put any sunglasses on after he had them smashed off his face by Klemperer. And finally, Rademacher gets the block down. Well, he's had his one Kong block, but it didn't really count as a full-on finish because he was in control of the point after the overpass. That's the first legitimate stop that he's made at the net. And they will serve the same man again. It's dropped on the line. And Christoph Dieckmann, having been so steady in this match, has just made a series of very uncharacteristic errors, and he's very angry with himself, so he should be. They've taken the foot off the accelerator. They've let Klemperer and Rademacher back with chances. But let's be fair to the third-ranked German team. They've taken those chances. They lead 15-12 in the second set. So timeout called by Scheuerpflug and Dieckmann. Their season so far in 2004 has not been a brilliant one. 7th in Berlin was okay. 5th in Cape Town was okay, but the 9th, 17th, 13th and 17th all not quite where they want to be. I wonder if Andy Scheuerpflug will play on after Athens. 37 years old. St. John Smith played on to 44 years of age on this tour. Dieckmann's, well, I was going to say Dieckmann's poor run continues, but very quickly the touch acknowledged by Niklas Rademacher. So Dieckmann just catching a piece of that block. Such is the respect between these two teams. Very quick apologies being made, but Niklas Rademacher needs to get his game back in the groove on offense. Chance to hit now for the big man. And you can see he's got the height, he's got the angles. What he doesn't have yet is the power. Quite a loopy shot, and that was his heat, I have to tell you. Doesn't get much faster than that from Rademacher. Klemperer, conversely, can give it a right tonk. He just can't get high enough to find the angles, and Rademacher's serving is just in the pits at the moment. Well, he's looking up to the skies there. He needs inspiration from somewhere. Just out. And a smile from Klemperer. He's a tour clown, this guy. He's a lovely bloke. So committed. He's like the sort of guy you'd meet down the park playing beach volleyball every day. Just there for the fun, there to enjoy himself. But he takes it so seriously, he tries so hard. And this is a great reward for the young man. Wonderful shot down the middle. And Klemperer is keeping this team in the match. What he needs is for Nicholas Rademacher to start to weigh in with some blocks of his own, and that was a great hit from a long way off the net. Referee just blowing the whistle to say he's not ready to start yet. Klemperer just getting a bit excited. (18-14), that is a good lead. Well, that's fascinating. That serve was on Christoph Dieckmann, and Scheuerpflug said, "I'll take that one, pal," and he got out the way, let Scheuerpflug pass it, and that's what Scheuerpflug's done with the shot. Great put away, another football-style sliding tackle from Klemperer. Good shot, and that's exactly the right time to play it. Rademacher was shouting, line, line, line. That's where the space was. Scheuerpflug cleverly listening to the call, sprinted line, and what did Klemperer do? Cuts it in the opposite direction. What presence of mind from the young man. So cross-court block and a line block. Not required because Rademacher can't get a service in for love nor money, and you get the feeling that if he threw it two-handed underarm, he'd still miss the court. So change of ends indicated by that rather natty scoreboard in the corner. Christoph Dieckmann's had a nasty little run for the last 5 minutes. Can he get his game back together? And he just works it off the block of Dieckmann. And such is the game of Rademacher at the moment, in tatters. They've been serving him more than Klemperer, and he's trying so hard to get this crowd on side. And this crowd get it up for this game now. This is a nice little tussle on court. Set point then, chance to go 1-1 for the German number 3 team with the German number 2 team. And Dieckmann finds some rhythm again. Now he desperately needed that earlier in the set, and this set has rather flown by, hasn't it? Blink of an eye, and all of a sudden Klemperer and Rademacher have sneaked it. 2017, 3 set points, and that's a stinker. Straight in the net. Klemperer with the exaggerated celebrations, and Scheuerpflug and Dieckmann find themselves in a bit of bother now. And despite a pretty poor performance from Klemperer and Rademacher, they level the game at 1 set apiece. Now, of course, the other great event going on in Europe over the course of this weekend, the start of the Tour de France. And we will be leaving the beach volleyball coverage to make sure we're on time for the start of the next day of racing. So let me warn you of that. We were thinking maybe this match will be over in 2 sets to Scheuerpflug and Dieckmann. But cycling fans, don't worry. We will be with the Tour de France. We've got about 15 minutes of coverage left here in Stavanger. Now, will that be enough time for one of these 2 teams to decide it? 15-point tiebreaker set to come. Dieckmann and Scheuerpflug clutching their heads. They're not really sure where that one went. But this game, you have to be fair. You have to say this game has been won more on the mistakes that the teams have made rather than the good play. We've had very little in the way of stuff blocks or ace serves or defensive genius. But hats off to the player in your picture now in the number 2 shirt. David Klemperer put on a really solid performance in that second set, and Niklas Rademacher has done nothing from the service line. He's done nothing with the block, and look at him, he is well up for this game, and that's good. You shouldn't feel embarrassed. If you're not playing well, you shouldn't strut around court feeling embarrassed. You should be out there really working it, trying to get things back together. The teams come out for the third and deciding set in this second semi-final here at the ConocoPhillips Norwegian Open on the Swatch FIVB World Tour. More great beach volleyball on Eurosport, and a fascinating match. Not really fascinating for the level of volleyball. It's not been that impressive, and Rademacher completes service error number 5 in a row. I'm not sure what I'd be saying to him if I was his partner, but I don't think it would be particularly pleasant. That's why Rademacher has got such a good partner. David Klemperer does nothing but encourage. And all the best beach volleyball players, all the best guys to be alongside you on court will do that. Because Klemperer knows that if Rademacher hits a form of serve or hits a bit of form blocking, this game will be over. That is brilliant. Well, genius, absolute genius from Klemperer. And after 2 sets of pretty mediocre beach volleyball, the first 2 points of this deciding set are crackers. Brilliant play from Klemperer, and they storm off into a lead. And Rademacher gets the block, and it was only a matter of time before the big man managed to weigh in. I think I'd have been so embarrassed if I was Niklas Rademacher at the amount of work that Klemperer has been doing in this game. I'd feel I have to get in there and make the block, and finally he does. So Klemperer to serve, 3-1 the lead for the team in blue, and that is a shame. Not a shame for Scheuerpflug and Dieckmann. They'll be more than happy to be let off the hook. And Andy Scheuerpflug has played the game of his life. You do feel very sorry for him. It's Christoph Dieckmann who's made the series of errors, really, that handed the second set over. Rademacher's now has got the bit between his teeth. The big man is up for this. He's always been up for the challenge. That's what I like about him. Didn't get all down on himself, didn't get all moody like so many young players can do. Even when he was having the worst game of his life, he just kept shouting and going. And Klemperer kept it all together for them. But there's still one part missing from Rademacher's game, and that's putting a serve in court. Service error 6 in a row. No one can stop Klemperer at the moment. The jump of celebration almost bigger than the jump to hit the ball. And he's loving this. The wee man from Kiel doing a very, very good job out on court. Oh, so close. He's showing out big time for the crowd now. The crowd had a lovely time with Sean Scott on court yesterday. Rogers and Scott had a nice run in this tournament before being stopped by Manuel and Ricardo. He had a great time laughing with the crowd, and Klemperer showing his comic genius as well. Oh, Niklas Rademacher with another mistake, and this is so disappointing, so frustrating for the young German team. Scheuerpflug and Dieckmann just having to let it all go on around them. They've got very little say in this game at the moment. But will their experience